LinkedIn. So I'm just Brett Potts on LinkedIn. I've been on it forever, and I'll write you my name down here for you, and also give you my cell phone number and my email address.
So do we agree that everybody that walks in after this has to dance?
And my cell phone is up here. I've also got business cards. If you prefer one, it's 310-920-2153. It's been my cell phone for like 13 years. And as I said before, you can call me anytime 24/7. Now, if I'm awake and not in a meeting, I'll take the call, and I'll really look forward to it. Honestly, the most rewarding part of my job, of this job, is staying connected with folks like you. It's such an honor to work with you, and so much fun. And I love hearing stories of your successes and stories of your not so successes. Right? My email address is just potts@newcap.com. So it's just P-O-T-T-S is my last name at newcap, like a new hat, but it's a cap. Potts@newcap.com, and that's our investment bank. So happy to connect with you any way you like. Also, I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me with that email address on LinkedIn, or you can just search for my name, Brett Potts. So that was the first question that came up. I'll come to yours in just a second, Chris. The second question that came up is for this particular call that we're practicing, and I put the format up here. Yeah, put the format up there. For that particular call, a couple of folks want to know, can this be a service call? No, this should be some sort of a sales call. We're definitely going to practice service calls more on next Tuesday and Wednesday, but this is a call with a sales component, and we're going to practice the sales aspect of it. Sound good? So if you've got somebody that you can't sell something to, or that you're not going to sell something to, probably you're going to want to pick a new customer to practice with for the rest of the morning. Questions about any of that so far? Okay, Chris, go for it.
I was just curious, you were talking about 24/7. How many drunk calls do you get a year?
When I call them drunk, or when they call me drunk? I'm thinking it could go either way. I don't get very many. Once in a while, so I'll get one from, most often people call me to say, you know what, you told me 5 years ago that I should smile more on the phone, and it's made a big difference, and I just landed a big deal. Or I get a call where, hey, I'm looking for a new job, and I could use an introduction, and I'm happy to make those as well. Or I get one where, look, I've got a big deal coming up, and I'm kind of stuck. Can we talk through it a little bit? Sometimes I just get calls because people just want to catch up, like, hey, how's it going? I've got this former client named MAH00027, who's he's now a vice president at Ingersoll Rand. I don't know if you know Ingersoll Rand. But when I worked with him, he was a sales rep, and he was number 14 in a region of 14 sales reps. He had just moved across country from the East Coast to the West Coast, and he had a little baby. His girl was, I think, like 14 months old, and he was kind of, he and his wife had only been married for about a year and a half as well. So basically, they got married, they got pregnant right away, or maybe they had been right beforehand. Long story short, he was in trouble. And 14 out of 14, he had no manager in San Diego at that time. So it was him and all these other reps, and he was in danger of losing his job. And he took the Sales Advantage course, which has a lot of the same components that we're working on, and it really changed his life. And he came back and he was a coach for us, which is also something I would invite all of you to consider. If you like the Dale Carnegie material or the Dale Carnegie system, come back to one of our sales courses and coach. That's free. There's no charge for it whatsoever. It's a win for us because we have a graduate who's using the techniques in the program. It's a win for you because it's a great refresher. And so when you coach, if you were to coach in Orange County, it's literally less than 10 minutes away from you. So hopefully that answers the question. I kind of dodged the question about drunk dials. I don't get very many. But I'll take them. It's fun. So, other questions about any of that stuff? Cool. So let's get into this practice a little bit. So each of you has got a customer's name. On page 3.2, let's look at me there. On page 3.2 is a bit confusing diagram, so we're going to skip it. At the top of page 3.3 is a smaller part of that diagram. Looks like a pizza with only 4 slices. See what I'm talking about? So there's 4 categories. These are called interest areas. What are those 4 categories around the pizza? There you go. So primary interest, other considerations, buying motive, and buying criteria. So this is kind of the point, right? In order for us to provide a good solution, we need to understand these 4 things. So another way to say it would be like the must-haves, which is the buying criteria, the nice-to-haves, which is the other considerations. What is it the customer wants, and then what's their emotional reason for buying it? Let me ask you a question. Do you think your dealers have emotional reasons for using you?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Like what?
You.
Okay, so it could be that they like us. What's another one?
Better fees.
Okay, so better fees and what? Well, look at this. All right, let's get rid of that. Now, Corey, I kind of feel like there was a joke just walking in with all that.
I went to go get this for Kevin.
What's all about? What's it all about?
Our department trophy, the supervisor and the team that comes in first place, he gets to hold the trophy for the month.
And he walks out.
So it's going to get changed to somebody else today?
Kevin hasn't won it once. Just say, I'm on number 6.
Fighting words.
Well, now it sounds like we're throwing down a challenge. Kevin, do you have anything? I mean, what are your thoughts on this?
Not pertinent.
Fair enough. So maybe not pertinent right now. So we'll come back to it and have some opportunity to talk about this. For what it's worth, competition is a good thing in here as long as it's friendly/healthy, right? So let's keep it that way. And it sounds like we've got a good, friendly, kind of healthy competition going. Back to this call, though, what's going on is that we're going to introduce ourselves to the person. We're going to use a power phrase. We're going to have to ask him some questions. And the point of asking the question is understanding these 4 interest areas. Right? And then we're going to offer them a solution that hopefully ties into the interest areas. Now, I won't make many promises in sales. One promise I will make, though, is if you know these 4 answers, if you absolutely know these 4 answers, and your company has the solution you're thinking of, or they're asking for, you will make a sale 99.9% of the time. So it's important to know those answers, right? You got to know the emotional reason why a dealer would be choosing you. It could be they're scared for their job. It could be they want to be a President's Club rep. It could be they want the best month ever. And the reason they want the best month ever is because they're competitive and their reputation is on the line, right? It could also be that they're trying to do the right thing for a customer and they really care about this particular customer. But you've got to know the emotional reason, because the emotional reason will help you understand how to sell to them. You certainly have to know the must-haves and the nice-to-haves, right? And then you need to know their big overarching reason for what it is they want. So let's talk about a couple of these. Let's just pick one example from this table. Who wouldn't mind using theirs? One of those cards that you wrote the name on?
Mine.
Okay, Sue, who's
Mine's
yours?
kind of different situation.
Okay, tell us
so
about it.
I'm hoping that I'm on the right track.
Yeah, tell us about it.
Okay, so Jonathan's familiar, West Alabama Hotel. I had a rough time getting them approved. Finally got them approved.
Okay. Why did you have a rough time getting them?
Oh gosh, that's the long story. The background check didn't come back right.
Okay, background check issues.
We resolved it.
Okay.
It took 3+ months to resolve it.
Wow, okay.
Okay, but they did not give up. They kept calling me.
Okay.
And his name is Bill Ayers, and he's very pushy, very expectant,
Okay.
very directive.
Okay.
So he's a driver all the way,
Why do you think he's that way?
because he's the general manager.
Lovey made him that way.
Lovey made him that way.
Who's Levy?
She's one of the
who
owners.
runs every person that is at that store and is on top of every movement at that store.
So is he about keeping his job, or is he about?
No, he was about wanting to get on board with CPS because he had used this previously at another store, and he really needed our programs. So he was really pushing, and Levy was pushing, and it just took a while. We finally got it done.
Okay.
Okay, so my first call to him was welcome aboard when we finally got him done. That was my power phrase. Welcome aboard, you're approved, let's do some business. Okay? And he was like, oh, thank you, Sue. Let's do this. Then I asked him some questions. So I'm going to go over some things about CPS, what we don't want. And he said, hey, you know what, Sue? I know CPS guidelines. I got this new girl. Her name is Carissa. She's 20 years old. She's going to be doing the financing. So here's what I need from you. I need you to call her tomorrow and go over all the programs. And a light bulb went on in my head. I'm like, oh my gosh, because I know that's too much information.
Yep.
So rather than say to him, well, no, actually, here's what I'd like to do, I didn't do that.
Yep,
I
good.
agreed with him.
Sure.
Sure, I will call Carissa tomorrow.
Yep, no problem.
And I will go over information with her to get her going. He goes, good, because I won't be here. She's going to be clicking the apps over. I said, not a problem, Bill, I'll do that. Now, I have my own agenda. I'm not going to do what he's asking me to do. That will just make her head spin.
Okay.
So 1 o'clock the next day, I did call.
Yep.
Hey, Carissa, the Sue CPS. Hey, I understand you're new. Bill asked me to call you and review some of our products.
Yep.
I'm just going to make it, I don't want you to overthink it. I'm going to tell you 4 things I don't want. Everything else I want you clicking over to me. And I'm going to call you and I'm going to walk you through it.
Nice. Here's the 4 deals I don't want.
Right.
Okay? Yep.
So I was real clear, no self-employed.
Yep.
First-time buyers that live with relatives. You know, the basics. Okay, Sue, and I said, how are you with POI? Well, I kind of knew. Okay, you're going to be sending me your POI until you get a handle on what it is we're looking for.
Okay.
How are you with applications? Job times are important for CPS.
Yep.
We're an application lender.
Yep.
What goes on that app is very important to us.
Yep.
I went over just basic things with her rather than what he asked me to do. I didn't argue with him. I said, sure, I'll call her. Knowing I'm not going to go over all the programs with her. It's too much information. And I just handled it the way I would normally handle it.
Okay.
So the result was she starts clicking apps, and I'm calling her on the apps, and we're reviewing the apps. We have a deal
Nice.
coming in.
Nice.
So,
Let's give her a round of applause.
I think on that call, like it could have gone the other way. Like I could have done exactly what he told me to do and just bombarded her with so much information.
Customers don't necessarily want us to do what they tell us to do. What they
Right.
want us to do is
Make it easy for them.
make their lives easy, get their jobs done. And sometimes we have to use our intuition to figure that out, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes they do want us to do specifically what they ask us to do. Most of the time, what they don't. They want us to do our jobs really well, right? Which has helped them sell more cars. And so that's a key point. What's this guy's name again? Bill?
Bill Ayers.
Okay, so let's take Bill Ayers. A-Y-R-E-S?
AYERS. That's
Bill Ayers. Okay, so here we go. We got Bill. So based on what you heard from Sue a moment ago, what did Bill want?
Where to get the finance manager on
Training.
Training for the finance manager, okay? What else?
I want to do business.
He wanted, what does that mean specifically for him, do you think?
More
Sell
sales.
more cars.
Put it in Bill's words. What would Bill say?
Revenue.
I want revenue, right? And that's more cars. Good with that?
Yep.
So let's think about what are Bill's must-haves. Those are the primary interests. Or, sorry, buying criteria, excuse me. His must-haves, the buying criteria.
Program for his customer.
program knowledge for the finance manager.
Program knowledge, okay? What else must he have?
Inventory.
What do you mean by inventory?
The right kind of car.
Units.
But we don't handle that for him, right? So we're just thinking about, we're analyzing our conversation with him. You're right, he does need inventory, he's got to be able to sell cars, but that's not what he needs from us, right? Go for it.
He needs a competent employee that can submit deals over and understand what they're sending us.
Okay. I'm going to put competent company. Is that okay? Yeah. Well, maybe have a competent contact or rep. Is that more accurate? Okay. What else does he? What is another must-have for Bill?
Good relationship.
Okay. Is that a must-have? Do you think for Bill, or is that a nice-to-have?
Nice time.
You tell me.
Nice time.
Who says must? Okay. Why do you say must, Aaron?
I mean, it's nice to have it, but if that relationship is going nowhere, then what's the point? I would say
Okay.
a must because.
Sounds like you
they
wanted
need
me to
make
be
sure-
available.
Okay, how about we say availability, and we say positive relationship over here, right? And sometimes we can play with words a little bit. I'm gonna say available. I'm gonna say positive relationship, right? This guy's, a driver a lot of times doesn't necessarily need to be on friendly terms with everyone he or she works with.
Doesn't care about it.
They may care, but it's a nice to have, right? What they really need is to get things done. That's typically what we hear from those folks. Anything else that I should put in nice to have? Have I missed anything so far? There's some other nice to haves about Bill's deal.
Trust.
There's availability over there.
Okay, so I'm gonna move availability over there.
Clear communication.
Clear communication.
About knowledge. I want somebody who's knowledgeable.
Let me ask a couple of questions about Bill's relationship with Levy. Is it Levy?
Lovey.
Lovey, okay. So Bill, how long has Bill worked for Levy?
I don't know. He's new at that store, so obviously not very long. Because he came from another store.
Do you happen to celebrate Christmas?
Sorry?
Do you happen to celebrate Christmas?
Yes.
Okay, so do I, so I'll ask you a question about this specifically, and here it is on point, I hope. If you had to send him a Christmas present, and you had an unlimited budget, what would you send him?
Food.
Cardboard cutout of yourself.
Think about Bill, think about him for a second. Picture
Gosh,
him in
he's
your
a tough
mind.
one because he's just to the point. Like, there's no fuzzy anything.
You have
He's
unlimited
just like,
budget.
this is what I want you to do it. Can you call it tomorrow?
Right.
Thank you.
So
So what would I send him?
Pick a
God,
Christmas present.
I'd send him,
Send him on a trip.
you know, I'd send him some food because I don't know the guy that well.
Food for his department.
Send him a personality.
I know it's a hard question, right? That's kind of out of the blue, too. The reason is, we need to be thinking about what makes this guy tick.
Right.
It says dominant buying motive on page 3.3, and if we could turn the page to 3.4, maybe we'll get a little bit more insight. Nope, we don't get a lot more insight there. We get a little bit more, so sorry about that, I thought it was on page 3.4, it's not, it's only on page 3.3. Dominant buying motive typically is one of these. It's typically like self-preservation. He wants to keep his job, right? Or it's like self-actualization. How many of us have ever heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Okay, good. So we've got some folks. What's Maslow's hierarchy of needs? You ever heard of this?
At top is food.
It's a basic of human
food, right?
psychology.
Food and
Some
water.
folks say it's 100% right. Some folks say it's 100% wrong. Most people say it's mostly right. Okay? Maslow's hierarchy of needs is a pyramid. Okay? As a human being, let's say, what's the first and fastest thing that we need above everything else?
Food and water.
Oxygen.
First it's air, right? So we're going to put air, then we're going to put food, then we're going to put water. Okay? That's survival. You don't have air. If we cut off the air in here, how long would it take before we're all gone?
3 minutes.
About 3 minutes, right? Maybe somebody can hold their breath for 4, but that's about all the time we have. Okay? How about water? How many days? Okay, maybe 7 days at the very longest. A lot of people would say it's more like 3 to 4 days, right? How about food?
2 weeks.
You get about 2 weeks, right? Maybe you get 3 weeks, depending on kind of your personal situation, how much activity you have to do, the environment. So this is survival stuff. Once you have survival, what's next?
Shelter.
So, okay, so let's put shelter. And this is not a perfect example of Maslow's hierarchy, so if anybody's Googled it, feel free to read out the specifics, but I'm going to give you the gist of it so you can understand kind of how this applies to selling. It's a tenet of human psychology, right? We're going to need shelter next. What does shelter mean?
Your home.
It's your home, it's a roof, right? I
Cave.
might even put in a home,
Cave.
right? Homeless people have a tough time, right? That ain't easy, even in Orange County. What's that?
I was gonna say unless you go to the 5 freeway over there.
Right, I mean, for what it's worth, they're better off in Orange County than they would be in like Minnesota in the wintertime, right? But it's still a pretty tough road to hoe. Once you have a home, once you have shelter, what do you need next?
Coffee.
Money.
Coffee, so.
Goods and services.
Happiness.
Barter.
So now there we go. Now we're kind of getting into the next level, right? And so one level up would be belongingness, right? So we need a community or a job or people to be associated with. The toughest punishment that we give out in prisons, other than the death penalty, what is it? Solitary confinement, because it hurts us, right? If we don't have a sense of belonging or community, we are in pain, right? By the way, a lot of us dip down into this pretty regularly, right? Most of us in here are covered with these two areas, right? Probably all of us in here are covered. But a lot of us kind of sometimes dip down into the belonging issue, right? We're new to our job, we're new to our community, we just went through a painful divorce, we lost somebody that we loved, right? Something like that, and it shocks us and we dip down here. What's above belonging?
Esteem.
Okay.
Prestige, feeling accomplished.
I'm going to write esteem. This is a feeling of accomplishment, right? This means, hey, I feel like I'm actually doing something. Not only am I a part of the community, but I'm also valued in the community, right? Now we start to hear about things like reputation. Make sense? It starts to feed our ego. What's the top of the pyramid? Who knows?
Self-actualization.
It is. It's a funny word called self-actualization. Ever meet these people who are like, look, I'm doing fine. I've been blessed in my life. I've got a lot of wonderful things. All I'm really trying to do is make the most change I can in the world. Make the most positive change, right? So you get somebody like a Sir Richard Branson from Virgin Airlines, right? Bill Gates these days, some of those folks a lot of times, they operate almost exclusively here, right? They've got so much money, they've got so much esteem and so much belonging, those things are already fed. It's all at this point just about trying to be the best versions of themselves they possibly can. Many of us in here are probably bouncing between these three categories. In fact, I would say most of us are. And most of your customers are too. Your trick is to kind of understand where they're at. So back to Bill. Is he a nice guy?
I would say to this point, he's neither. He hasn't been mean, he hasn't been rude, he's very direct, and he's like, here's what I need, please handle it for me.
From what you've heard of him, does it sound like he's got this?
No.
Still trying to get there.
Okay, so maybe he's dipping into this a little bit. Does he sound like he's kind of in this area? But he's probably not here.
Right.
Follow me?
Yeah.
Right? So now we're getting towards an emotional reason. I'm going to say that for him it's probably about reputation.
Reputation, okay. Proving
that?
himself, being successful at that company.
There we go, right?
Right.
Now we've nailed it. So
And he's
now that
asking
we
me
know
for
these
help.
things about him,
To do that.
but what did we have to do to figure that out? We had to ask a bunch of questions. So we're going to need a system for asking questions. So there's Bill. Who's your partner going to be? Sue?
Mark.
It'll be Mark, okay? So Mark, I'm going to give this to you. This is the role you got to play. After you're done, or before you're done, you can throw it away, but Merry Christmas.
Put it on the fridge. Put it on the fridge.
So lucky.
All right, me and Bill.
By the way, don't offend anybody in here. For what it's worth, I know Kwanzaa actually also happens at the same time this year, which is good. So for those of you who are celebrating Kwanzaa, happy Kwanzaa. Hanukkah turns out to be happening at the same time too. Happy Hanukkah for those folks who celebrate that. And for those folks who don't celebrate any of those three or none of the above, happy holidays to you. I hope you have a wonderful vacation when we break up today.
It's Festivus for the rest of us.
Festivus for the rest of us. Well, for those folks who might celebrate Ramadan, that's not till May, so they would also have to celebrate Festivus for this time of year. So for what it's worth, holidays are coming up, important to folks, just thought I'd bring it up. Next week, special prizes, holiday prizes. Let's pick one more category. Let's pick one more person. Who's got another customer we can talk about? Go, Jonathan, who do you got?
There's somebody back there.
Oh, cool. Two.
I'll go with it, but.
Payment. What do you got?
Painter?
I got Elvis.
Elvis?
Elvis. There it goes.
Elvis has not left the building. Tell us about Elvis.
Oh, no.
Elvis is
an F&I guy that changes dealerships and tracks me down.
Hang on just a second before we go there. Who feels like they've got this? They understand the 4 categories?
I don't.
Let's welcome up Aaron. Let's give Aaron a big round of applause and have him welcome to the front of the room. Aaron's going to talk us through this. I'll be here to help Aaron. Aaron, all you got to do is fill out those 4 categories. Help him out. Go for it. Talk to us about Elvis.
Okay, Elvis, good old Southern boy, plays PlayStation 4, got a good relationship with him. Anyways, he's at an independent dealership now. He used to be at franchises. Let's see. Primary interest, making money for the dealership. Revenue, okay. Let's see. He's hiring staff, so he's about the only competent person there. I mean, he thinks he knows our programs fairly well, but he's always bringing up situations and stuff. So, other considerations. He likes our availability. I mean, that's one thing for sure. He's able to reach us, 24/7, 7 days a week, all that good stuff. And he always has issues with his applications that we need to deal with. So whether they're LTV, or whether they're income, I mean, POR, POI, that kind of stuff, there's always an issue with our apps that we don't seem to buy. Let's see what else about him.
What'd you put down there at the bottom for Elvis?
Issues,
Okay.
because he has a motive why he needs us. I mean, he needs to get those rectified somehow, and
Let's try to dive deeper into that. So he's got issues. Tell us more about this guy. Who's the guy?
Well, I mean, like I said, he's been at a franchise and now he's at an independent, so he's dealing with different criteria now.
Why is he at an independent now? Do you know?
Probably because he didn't pan out well at those franchises. I mean, he's been at 3 franchises within the past year, and now, like I said, he's at an independent.
What do you think, folks? Think about that Maslow's hierarchy.
I think Elvis has left the building quite a few times.
That sounds to me good. Aaron, would you put that back down for us for a second? It's the slide, it's the page right before.
He has no belongings.
So let's talk about Elvis.
Yeah.
Aaron, feel free to ask any questions you have in the group. What do you think? Let's talk about Elvis. Where's this guy fit? Is he in self-actualization, esteem, or belonging? Where is he?
belonging. But he belongs for such a short time, so technically, is he really there?
That is a great question, right? What do you think?
I'm on esteem.
I mean, I think he's just on the shelter area because he's moving so much.
So this is a survival motivated guy, right?
Yeah.
Self-preservation is the motive. Could we flip to the next slide again? Nice question.
Aaron, if we can really help him with his success, he might be able to find a home. If we can help build his.
That's why I put him on. That's why I put a competent rep on the buying criteria, because that's why he's always following him, because Mike will get the job done.
He needs more education.
But yeah.
He just changed his whole
Mike.
world, going from a franchise to an independent. This guy's reeling, his whole world is shattered because he can't do what he's done.
Correct.
Necessarily. He could
Correct.
get more money in the independent.
Right.
He could make more money in the independent, but he doesn't know how.
Elvis, we are going to help you become a rock star. Right? We are going to help you fund deals that you previously couldn't fund. That's the kind of language we're going to use with this guy. Right? So do we have his must-haves?
As far as his must-haves, I mean, availability being one, flexibility being another, and I mean, he wants us to side with him pretty much all the time, but that's not the case. I mean, we have our criteria, our guidelines to follow, and he's always trying to shoot above those and get more bang for the buck, and that's not going to happen.
So this must have really is no flexibility then. He must have more training so that he has.
Yeah, it's training. Must have training.
Well, he's gone from a franchise to an independent. The ballgame's changed, and he doesn't realize.
Let's go to one voice. Let's go to one voice. Alex, you guys are having an awesome conversation. If you two could stand up for a second and just take this conversation to the center of the room. Describe what's the disagreement here that we're trying to get to the bottom of. So just take it to the center of the room, talk us through a little bit. Because Alex is coaching here a little bit, it's great coaching. We can all coach each other, right? That's part of what
I
we're
guess what I was trying to say is it sounds
let's put all ears on them, go for it.
well, it sounds like you're saying that this is a running problem, that he's constantly trying to do things that he should know that we can't do. And you're trying to tell him that we can't do it for whatever reason, but he keeps bringing you back to the same problem. So it sounds to me like the basic thing is that he's not properly trained on what he can or can't do, and he's spinning his wheels.
Well, like I said, he knows our programs inside out. I mean, as far as, you know, first-time buyer through the alpha, limitations and all that kind of stuff. So he'll read me what our LTV-ish limitations are at a franchise level based on the year of the vehicle and all that good stuff. So he knows our
He knows our rate card.
Oh, well, yeah, he knows our rate card.
But does he really know our customer and where we stretch and where we don't?
Yes, yes, because he sees those customers all the time, and his thing is, I'm getting these packages bought by somebody else.
Okay.
You guys aren't stepping up.
Okay, so, but does he understand why we're not stepping up on those customers?
Well,
Because if it's a good deal and a good customer, then we'll stretch, right?
I look at the customer and what's in the profile as far as credit and all that kind of stuff, so I'm pointing things out to him, and he's seeing the same thing. He just wants us to bend.
Okay, but what I'm saying though, is, does he really understand where we can bend and where we can do, come on, this is CPS, everybody knows we can do almost anything if we like the deal.
Right.
Everybody agree with that?
No,
Right?
it's an independent, it's a lot harder for us to be able
If
to.
we like the deal, we can get things done.
All right, let's give these two a round of applause. Almost as much fun as a town hall debate. For what it's worth, thank you guys very much for bringing it up. Are these, yeah, thank you. Are these productive, having these conversations
Yes.
with our colleagues throughout?
Yes.
Super productive, right? Now, we want to be having these kind of discussions back and forth. Michael, if you had to say, like, what's the best question Alex asked you, or the best point he made, what do you think it was?
Does he know our customers?
Okay, right? Alex, is that fair? You feel like that's a pretty solid point too?
That's it.
I mean, you made it, right? So when you ask the question, does he know our customers, what did you mean specifically by that?
Well, because what I said was, it seems like he has a very good understanding of what's printed on our rate card.
Okay.
Okay, but he doesn't necessarily understand what it is that makes us want to throw that rate card away and jump all over a deal, and what makes us hesitant to do that.
Okay. Go for it, Dave.
And I just wanted to add to it. So, you know, a lot of people have a misconception in the subprime world that we'll take anyone that has bad credit. We want people that have bad credit that are on the path to going in the direction where they should be, right? That are making good payments, that are, exactly. We don't want people on a downward trend. We want them on the upward trend. And we want to be the lender that gives them their first vehicle to get back to that place. So that's our place. And that's where the dealers get confused. Because they think, oh, this guy has bad credit, you're going to do it. No, just because he has bad credit doesn't mean we're going to do it. We want to see them making the effort to go the right way.
So it sounds like we're starting to narrow down not just what Elvis actually wants, but also kind of what he needs.
Yeah.
Right? So, Aaron, if you could bring the conversation home for us on, do we know what he wants? That's the top pizza wedge. What does he want?
Well, he just wants a way to sell, make more money and get a fewer tests, is what I'm hearing.
Yep.
He just wants as much as he can. He wants to teeter in his way as much as he possibly can.
Maybe like a trusted partner who's going to lean our favor when they can, or lean our way when they can, something like that, right? Okay, what about their must-haves? What is Elvis, what are some of his must-haves up there?
I thought a competent rep and just more training.
See, that's a big one. It sounds to me like what he must have a rep that's really knowledgeable and can explain succinctly how to get deals done. You ever seen a survival knife? What's a survival knife?
Got everything. Compass.
You've seen a survival knife.
Matches, handsaw.
So that's one example, right, is the Rambo knife. Remember the Rambo knife?
Yeah.
What's the Rambo knife? What's it look like? It's like this big, right? It's got a huge blade. It's serrated on one side, and then inside it's got like a
Matches, compass.
matches, fishing line, and the compass, right? You strap that bad boy on, you can be Rambo, get dropped off in the middle of the jungle, and you can survive with it, right? That's kind of what Elvis needs, right? Elvis needs a survival knife of a company. Does he want to know all the policies and procedures?
No.
What does he want to know?
How he can get his deals done.
How do I get deals done? Right? What's within the boundary, what's without the boundary? How do I get deals done so I can look like a rock star? Any other considerations? What are his nice to haves? What are his nice to haves?
Phone access 24/7.
What'd you come up with, Aaron? What's his nice to haves?
I just put availability and accessibility.
Can we be more specific?
Fast, fun ways to it. No, nice to have would be him being able to get everything signed off.
It'll be nice.
Excessive exceptions needed.
Exceptions, that's good, right? It's nice to get some exceptions through once in a while. Go for it, Rod.
Jerry's dealt with Elvis
That's
before.
that.
Jerry, little input.
Jerry, give a little input about Elvis. Last thought from Jerry here.
Oh, yeah, Jerry got it, that's right.
I mean, it's like what he said. I mean, this guy just trying to push the envelope on everything.
Yep.
Even though he knows that he can't get it, I feel with him many times. He's like, come on, I got it done. Let's go somewhere. I'm like, yeah, right, you know. And it's a lot of fishing, trying to, bait you to try to do it. And some of the stuff is just like outlandish, which you can't do. But, you always tell them, okay, I tried, even though you're dumb, but you're saying, I tried. I mean, like, okay. But, again, this guy's kind of like, he knows us very well. He knows how to sell cars. He's just kind of greedy kind of thing, I guess what I'm saying.
Sounds like desperate more than greedy.
He's just trying to get everything.
Well, seeing how he's relocated from franchise to franchise and now he's at an independent, yeah, I'd say desperation is something.
How many of us have ever been desperate? I mean, I have. There's been a couple times in my life when I've just been flat out scared. Just not sure what was going to happen next, how this situation was going to pan out, whether I would survive what was actually happening. And for most of us in here, some of us in here may have felt that before, right? When you're in that mode, when you're just as hungry as you can possibly be, when you're scared for your survival, for your life, right? You're going to scratch, you're going to fight, you're in a corner. And so you need somebody to say to you, look, these are the rules. This is where we might bend them. That's it. Let's talk through them, right? You're not doing this guy any favors by talking about all the opportunities, right? All the possibilities. You're doing him favors by being direct and to the point with him, right? So now you can see how he finds you in that conversation, can't you? By the way, Aaron, you've been a rock star up there. Let's give him a great big round of applause. Feel like this is a productive way to think about each of your customers?
Yes.
Okay, good. So please take a look at page 3.3 and then compare it to your note card. Fill out those little interest areas. So just write around on top of page 3.3 what the interest areas are for your customer. If you don't know one, that's okay. Put a question mark, because that's going to help us think about what questions to ask. Take 2 minutes to do this.
I think the needs are the hardest one. Diagnosing what they need is the hardest one for me.
like their must-haves.
Should pick it up. I haven't even talked to this guy. Switch it out then.
Take another 30 seconds just to think through your situation.
Pick a new one.
We're supposed to write that on.
Use
Just
that
don't
one.
call him dude.
Hey, dude. Just save that one for the maintenance call for later. You know what I mean? That customer was checking. Just switch it up. I'm gonna use the same one for both, whatever.
I don't really have a sales call.
Oh, come on. I was gonna use Glenn.
Yeah, I've been off the phone. It's like, how do I have a sales call now?
Yeah, I was just looking, so it's pretty good.
All of our phone calls are putting out fires and shit now. There's no more sales. It's saving the day.
Don't worry, we'll work on those on day 4 and 5.
Yeah.
Okay, so hopefully we've got a few ideas now. For what it's worth, this is one of those exercises that you can do in literally 30 to 90 seconds sometimes. So my suggestion to you would be if you're trying to make a sale and you're on the phone with somebody and you're trying to listen really carefully, just draw one of these on your page, somewhere on your desk, and start filling it out as they talk. Okay? And what it'll do is it'll guide you to what types of questions you need to ask. Does that make sense? If you can't fill this out for one of your customers in some level of detail, you're taking a good chance when you propose a solution at missing it. Right? You're kind of taking a flyer if you don't know these 4 categories. Does that make sense? Now, these can be accomplished in a very short period of time, and you probably need to know how to do that. That's the questions that we're going to come up with. And there's 4 types. Flip with me to page 3.4 if you could. Actually, you know what? I thought we could do a fun exercise instead. You ready for a fun exercise instead? Yeah. Okay, this is a listening exercise. In just a moment, whoever has the longest hair in your partnership is going to be telling you about a room. Okay? So what's going to happen is it's going to go like this. They're going to sit down, they're going to look at you, and they're going to tell you everything they can about their favorite room in the world. Your job, if you're a partner with the person with long hair that you have, is to listen and remember as many details as you possibly can. Who has the first question before we do it? Find a part. Go ahead. Room. That's right. Room. Their favorite room in the world. Maybe it's their mom's kitchen. Maybe it's their bedroom right now. Maybe it was their swimming pool locker room when they were on the swim team in college. Are you ready to do it?
No.
Who has the second question before we practice?
One-on-one.
One-on-one. So you're going to find a partner with the person with the longest hair. It's going to describe their favorite room in the world. On your mark. Get set. Go.